You want to take your seats? Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. It's a beautiful night to be doing anything but sitting in a meeting room, but we're happy to have you here. We've got an exciting project in the works, and we have people coming in. Come on in, welcome. My name is Paul Hudding. I'm Director of Leisure Services. Just to give you a little review of what's been going on here, about a year ago, a little over a year ago, Stacy Van Dorp from the McElroy Trust gave me a call and said, Lincoln Park's looking a little tired. She was at ID8 right across the street and looking out. And she said, have you thought about improving it at all? And I said, I don't have any money. She said, well, there are ways around that. So that was March 2017. In May of 2017, I met with Craig Ritland and Stacy about some potential planning and design services. And then in June, we requested $10,000 from McElroy Trust. Ended up getting $1,000 from the Waterloo Community Foundation and the balance from McElroy Trust to start the planning process. Then we hired a topo engineering firm to do a digital base map. And then we knew we had to do something because we'd spent some money. So now we know we're going to improve Lincoln Park. September of last year, council approved the $10,000 contract for Ritland Kuiper and Associates for the conceptual plan. And that's what we'll be looking at tonight, and we're looking for public input. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mark Kuiper from Ritland Kuiper.
Thanks, Paul. So a couple representatives from my firm here, Craig Ritland there in the back corner, and Samantha Price is here with me too. And she's, we sort of planned on an informal open house, and so we were going to have the video and boards and answer questions. And I'm going to answer questions that you may have afterwards, but if we have brought the presentation along, I'll maybe point to a plan. If not, I'll just describe while you're watching this video, just the general concept for how it's designed and what the intent was. So I'll start with that. Just what we saw in the park was the historic nature of it. The way that the sidewalks cross through the middle is sort of a classic design for a downtown park. You'll see it all over the country, and there's a circulation reason to do it that way, and it's actually a very pleasant design. It works quite well in this particular scenario. And we didn't want to change the form and function of Lincoln Park. We just wanted to make it better. So we wanted to take what it does well and just make it better. So with that, what we did is really look at the walks that go through the park are actually quite narrow. And so we wanted to expand the width so that we could get more pedestrians through the space, so that we could get maintenance vehicles through the space, so that people had places to stand and sit when there was functions and still be able to circulate and not feel so tight.
To interrupt you, but they are trying to get this on tape.
Okay,
so if you could stand
so I'll stand more in that area.
Thank you.
So that's one of the main parts of that is those crosswalks in the center of the park would stay. We would look at options for either having that be a plain concrete or actually looking at a colored concrete for that as a way of differentiating it from the surrounding sidewalks. We are looking at, first question I usually get with the park design is, what are you doing with the trees? And the answer is, if there is a tree that needs to be replaced, it's being replaced. If there's a tree going in, it's going to be put in a way that works with the existing function of the park, with the events that are put out there. We are working with all of the different event suppliers and vendors. We've had a really great committee, actually, and some of you were on that committee, but we've had all of the city departments have been represented there. We've had Main Street. We've had, as I said, all of the event partners that are involved in this, and the neighbors, the neighborhood association. And so we're really excited about how there's really been quite a consensus around that. A lot of this design has evolved in that. So the outflow of this design is from all those committee input opportunities that were given. We're really, in addition to the crosswalks then, what we did was we took the existing plaza. It was a fountain at one time, and it's kind of a sunken plaza now, and it's got some seating, and the trees are a little bit overgrown in that space. It's kind of dark and really in a lot of disrepair. The pavement, because it was sunken and because it wasn't designed to be pavement the way it's functioning now, what we're going to do is remove that and then really bring that into more of a central plaza, kind of punch it up with a brick paver that would match the 4th Street pavers. And then we're taking that same paver detail and yeah, so that kind of showed Samantha's pointing out where the existing plaza is there, kind of that seating area. So we'd be taking that and sort of relocating that seating and that brick paving in the center. And we're highlighting the corners then of the park with brick pavers. And that's of course sort of in keeping with some of the theme that's been developing in downtown Waterloo, and that's sort of brick at the intersections to sort of highlight those connection nodes to the neighborhood. And then also making that connection with 4th Street. We feel like that's a really strong draw for the design. The furniture then, if we want to look at some of the graphics that go with the, we looked at bringing that 4th Street furniture then, we really, that historic benches and furniture that's along 4th Street, we're going to bring that within the park. And sort of taking some of those same elements and repeating them within the park. You probably saw that in the rendering and the fly-through where we have the benches on both sides of the walk and giving people an opportunity to sit and take part in those conversation areas. And it really is sort of a vertical infrastructure piece for what we're going to be doing down there. So, and then the other thing was signage on the corners. The existing signage, basically, we've got some wood signs that probably have seen their design life and really needed to be replaced. And so we developed a concept for the signage on the corners. It's kind of the existing conditions on the 4th and 4th and Mulberry intersection corner. And so there's that wood sign and some of the shrubs. We'd be removing all the shrubs within the park. They just really taking out views and really just kind of cleaning up what's there. Sam, you want to show the sign? So that's kind of we have two different concepts we've been exploring. A limestone sign that would be similar to the limestone signage that's been used throughout the city. And we also have some park signs that have been put in on several different parks that is a concrete sign with a steel sign plate. So we haven't really settled on one of those. We're kind of getting input on that from the committee and making a final determination. A lot of that will be driven by cost. But and then we are bringing new pedestrian lights through there. We'll be taking another historic fixture. It wouldn't be the multi-globe fixture from 4th Street. We'd actually be taking a historic fixture that was used throughout the Highway 63 corridor. And that pedestrian scale lighting is about 15 feet tall. But the existing lights, there's actually only 4 lights in Lincoln Park right now, so I'm sure you've been there at night. It's actually quite dark without any supplemental lighting. The street lighting isn't sufficient to really light that and make it feel like a live space. And so we're going to be bumping those up with these pedestrian lights, really making that feel like a more safe and inviting environment. And then those light fixtures would have some outlets in them. There is some discussions with different folks about ways of bringing additional power to Lincoln Park for hosting events. That's something we're trying to figure out when that would be phased in and how it would be paid for. But we are having those discussions as well. I think that, like I said, it's a fairly simple design. We are working around the existing trees, and really making sure that we keep that shade that everybody feels is so important to that space. Any questions about the design? I might think of something else, but I think that's a general overview of the design, and we welcome your questions.
You want to mention the youth art team central?
Oh, yeah. We worked, Sam actually met with the youth art team, and they had some input, and that's part of how the checkerboard, the chessboard became part of that central plaza. Is we feel like that's a whimsical piece. We actually feel like it's a practical piece. We're thinking that we'll actually have human scale pieces that we can play there. We can have some tables set up for people to play normal scale chess in there. But that's actually been a pretty popular thing done. I've seen that in Europe. I've seen that in the United States, just as part of it sort of fits the period. It fits the feel of this park. And we think that'd be a neat feature to have throughout the week. We really hope this is a great place that people want to come and hang out for lunch. And it's not really so much right now. We really feel like it could be, especially with the additional housing, additional pedestrians, additional people on 4th Street. And we're just hoping that it really becomes a popular place for that.
Picnic tables will be back in there too?
Yeah, picnic tables will be there. Yep.
Mark, you mentioned the trees, one of the ones, and I'm curious, what percentage of the trees that are there now do you think are going to remain? Or will be replaced?
We're adding a few trees from what's there now. So there will be more.
Really open area.
Yeah, we wouldn't be filling in the open area because that's still an event space, but there are some spots where we've selected to add trees. So
we're adding about 11 trees and we're taking away 6. So there'll be about 5 additional trees.
And the lighting levels, what kind of standards do you decide what?
usually at a 1 foot candle minimum. And so we'd be looking
I would
for,
constantly not to make it complete.
yeah.
They're going to be dimmable as well. So if there's an event where they don't want the lights,
Right.
you'll be able to dim the lights down.
Will you be able to do that?
Yep.
Yeah,
You should be able to do it in LED source.
we'll have LED
They know they're
sources.
going to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You mentioned about the electricity for the vendors, and I know people have had safety concerns in the past about people tripping over electrical wiring and stuff. So when you say in the future, is there some way we can apply for a safety grant or something?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a safety grant related to wires on the ground, but that is one of the goals, is to prevent those above ground wires to the greatest extent possible. We're working on a conceptual layout where each of those power sources would be located in such a way that none of those main travel ways would be stepping over those supply lines.
I think we're planning on getting a detailed cost estimate for the ideal electrical layout and improvements. So we will attempt to raise funds for the whole project. We don't have that number yet, but we're working on it.
Sure.
Okay. We've also been speaking with MediaCom to put a park hotspot so that you would have Wi-Fi throughout Lincoln Park. So just as another additional source, of internet, and then people eating lunch would be able to work on stuff there as well.
You're still looking at maintaining parking around the park?
Yes, we haven't looked at any changes to parking.
The benches that you show, are those fixed or are those movable?
They would be fixed.
The concrete walkway through here, is that somewhat colored? It'll be like it won't be that bright reflective base concrete, but it'll have a little.
We'd like our base bid to be a dark gray with sort of a textured relief and additional joints that make it look like a high-quality pavement. We would probably look at an alternate for a standard concrete, but even with the standard concrete, we'd look at additional joints to differentiate it from a normal downtown walk.
So would that paving be similar to what's in Paramount?
Yes. Yes.
How are you envisioning the park to be in the wintertime?
In terms of,
Snow removal?
yes,
benches,
city sidewalks
all
would
that
have,
stuff?
would have snow removal, yes.
Benches would be usable as a
To a certain extent, I mean, I think they'd be, snow removal would definitely go down the walks and to the extent of, I don't know how many of the benches we'd be working around for seating in the winter, maybe not all of them, but I'm sure that many of them would be.
JP will figure it out.
Probably if there's a demand, they'll be out there removing snow. I mean, they do a pretty good job with it, so.
I noticed on the East Fourth and Franklin corner, kitty corner from KW Well, the paving looks a little different there compared to the other corners.
Some of them are just a little bit smaller. So we're really emphasizing Mulberry and East Fourth, and then
Franklin and.
Franklin and
East
Park.
Fourth, just, okay.
Yeah,
I
it's
just,
kind of the two main ones, and those would both have signage. And then the other would be more of a secondary entrance. It would still have the brick, it would just be at a smaller scale.
yeah, it's from that.
Any questions at all? Driving on the sidewalks, you know, for the events and stuff?
You could,
Yes, yes.
6 inches of concrete.
Speaking of concrete, question for Paul, maybe the mayor's budget. Curb and gutter around current Lincoln Park is not all on repair.
It's a good question.
Nor are the street surfaces.
Yeah, we're not really getting into a street recon,
I'm
but
thinking about coordinating so you don't build something new, tear it up later, so maybe.
yeah. I think we definitely be looking at the curves where we're meeting them in the corner. Then mid-block, those could be done as part of the project, but they could be done later, but that's probably a separate budget stream.
That's a good
Paul doesn't want that.
You want me to make up something? I don't know when that's for a street project coming up. I haven't
It's a
seen
good
it.
question, and we'll talk with engineering and see what the timetable is.
Yep.
And then I had one more question, which I think I asked at a neighborhood meeting, but, like, when will you be doing the construction work? Since there's so many events that happen during the summer, I was just curious
I'll try
what
to
the
get
timeline is on that.
We don't have the fundraising done yet, so it's difficult to stand up here and say exactly when. I will say that in one grant that I already turned in, I said that we could start as early as a year from now. After meeting with Main Street and others, I don't think that's feasible. I think we're going to have to start construction at least after Irish Fest of 2019. And so we have some fun, we have a steep fundraising hill to climb. This is about $1 million project, give or take, 1 to 1.2 I've been saying, but the electrical work, we don't know yet, and we're working on an estimate with that too, so that would be allowing some for the electrical. I'm not sure if it would be quite enough, but, so I guess tonight I would say our goal is to break ground late summer, early fall of 19.
I'm kind of curious, you know, that park's been there for what, 100 years or more? Has there a study ever been done on what could be underneath? You know, is there any archaeological? I know when they did East 4th Street, we found all these bricks, you know, and and the trolley.
Yeah, I know Mayor Hurley, when he was involved in some of these discussions, talked about taking the trolley from that corner. And that's something that we talked about, probably working with the Grout and doing some interpretive signage on, we've looked at a couple different aspects, the trolley line and also just the importance of this space, and really the multicultural aspect of Lincoln Park, the historical multicultural aspect of Lincoln Park, and how that relates to all the different ethnicities that use it and just have that history with that park. And so I think that's all something that we think would really make a lot of sense to look at it for interpretive signage. I don't know, we haven't done any archaeological studies ourselves.
Well, you know, if they're plowing down through there, all of a sudden, oh, what's that? You know, do we just keep plowing or
Yeah.
stop? And
Yeah, our plowing is going to be pretty minimal because we want to make sure we're not damaging those trees to the greatest extent we
Well, I
can.
think you need that at the beginning when you're doing the construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing, wow, there's something there.
Yeah, if something's under the sidewalk and shows up, who knows?
Anything special for disability people,
Well,
wheelchairs? and-
It's all accessible. There's no slopes to it.
Concrete pads,
Uh, We don't have any stages or anything that should have any accessibility issues. Yeah, probably put a, accessible drinking fountain as well. Any other questions?
I just want to thank you guys and thank everybody for showing up as we continue to have these conversations. All of our parks are important, but you know, Lincoln Park is downtown, it's right next to City Hall. We've seen incredible growth and progress in our downtown as well, and this is just a tie-in to all of that. So the life that we're seeing, and so many of you are involved in that. So thank you for these ongoing conversations.